And welcome back to the Constitutionals Podcast, the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Here we are, episode 181 of the only show other than news time that I do every week. This is an audio show. Like I said, premier podcast. What's going on? Well, we're in the middle of an election. If you're listening to this, this is 2 days after the United States election. We still haven't found out who the president is. Probably won't find out till at least Saturday. I was thinking this morning on my way to work, man, if I had money to gamble, I would have made a bet on Saturday, and that would have made a backup bet for Thursday, but it definitely won't be Friday. But I would have made a bet for Saturday afternoon of when we're going to find out who the president is. But I'm sure, you know, if you're listening to this show, I guarantee you've heard a countless amount of people talking about this. I mean, I couldn't even, there's every single news podcast and news show I watch, and it's a lot of news stuff. That may be why I'm so depressed. I had to skip over a lot of them. Because every single one, Planet Money. No, I don't think Planet Money did it. Both Wall Street Journal podcasts I subscribe to. Several of the NPR podcasts. I'm sure the Atlantic tomorrow, their one episode they do a week is going to be about that. The Daily, all that stuff. I will tell you something not related to the pandemic nor the election. I was editing, well, actually it is kind of related to the election. I was editing News Time. This week's News Time is an election special, talking about how celebrities are influential to you during a pandemic, and or not during a pandemic, during an election. How they're influential, and they might be able to change your vote depending on how what they say. Watch it; it's a really good episode. Truly, it's when I say it's good, it's good. And so I did the episode. And then I'm at work and I'm editing the episode. And then all of a sudden, the trackpad on the laptop just goes out. Now, this is a Lenovo Yoga 900. And so it's a Yoga, and it flips and it turns into a tablet, and it's a great laptop, especially for it being from 2015, and but it's got it was the highest spec laptop at the time. No big deal. But one of the main issues with it, besides there's some things that are falling off from it, from the hinge. That's a great watch band hinge, but it's things falling off from it. But one of the biggest issues about it is there's a manufacturer's defect with a trackpad. And I guess it was a big problem. Well, it wasn't a big problem, but it was a problem that was big enough to where Lenovo never recognized it, but everybody who has this laptop did. It's kind of like if you are in the tech, if you're interested in tech at all, the Dell XPS, the high-end Dell XPS line, which is like the MacBook Pros for laptop PCs, they have had the past couple of years issues with their trackpads as well, where it just doesn't register a click or double clicks, whatever. It just doesn't work. And same thing with this one, trackpad just sometimes will stop working, or it'll jankily work where like you're moving your finger, or like you can't scroll, you can't do the 2-finger scrolling or the zooming or that stuff. It just stops working. It's $2,000 and that's what it does. But anyway, so it stopped working. I'm editing this video at work. And I go, oh, dang it, and so I take the mouse from my computer, my Mac, and I plug it into the Yoga, and I'm knocking out the video, but eventually I get to a point where, okay, I'm done. The video's exported and it's uploaded to YouTube, and now I'm just gonna figure out how what's wrong with the laptop. I power cycle it, I turn it on and off, I update the drivers, I uninstall the mouse, nothing is working. And I go, oh my God, this thing's not working. The touchpad is just broken. I don't have I don't want to go in there and I don't have to get the special screwdriver and unscrew it and fix the touchpad. And B, I don't want to fix a touchpad. It's just so much work. So uh, I can do it. I just don't want to. Um, like I can do the research and I can learn how to fix it and buy a new touchpad and replace it. And I've already watched a couple of videos on how to do that. I just don't want to. And so for at least a day, so election day until uh, I would say yesterday, I was freaking out going, I have to use just an external mouse with this laptop. I have to carry an external mouse with me, and man, and a new laptop is going to cost $2,000 because I'm not going to spend $500 on a laptop. I got to edit. I got to do stuff. So I got a new laptop. I got to buy the new XPS 15 Core i7, and it's going to cost this much money. And then it starts working again, and then I go, and then like suddenly that weight was lifted off me. That $2,000 weight was lifted off. Well, actually, they're expensive. $2,500 weight was lifted off me, and I was just like, oh my god, thank you. Ugh. Whatever. I just don't want to. The technology should work. This is what I'm saying. That's what sucks about Android and PC stuff. Well, not PCs that you can build and really work on, but the stuff that's like soldered on, like the yoga stuff. It just like Android, you can't pick up a Galaxy S, 4 from where we're on. We're on 20 now. We're on 20, but they skipped 12. So 20, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. That's 8 years ago. The Galaxy S4 is 8 years ago. Or the S4 is 8 years ago. But yeah, you can't pick up an S4, 5, or 6 and it be, the quote unquote buttery, whatever the tech people say. They say buttery smooth, crispy. That's what you watch any tech review. It's so satisfying, buttery smooth. They all have the same 6-word thesaurus. Same thing for game reviewers, game reviewers and game journalists. They all say oddly satisfying and no spoilers here. But honestly, for me personally, they say the same stuff, which is why I try to stay off the internet because everybody speaks the same. But you can't pick up a Galaxy S5 and it won't be the same thing it is. But I guarantee I can go back and get an iPhone XR or an iPhone SE, the first one, or an iPhone 7 and it still be iPhone 8 and it still be good. Android's great because I can play emulated Pokemon games on my phone or on my television device, without breaking in and popping kernels or whatever, jailbreaking, all that stuff. But, the iPad I have in my hand, it's going to work for the next 10 years. It'll be slower than whatever comes out in a year, but it'll work. Hey, let's get on to the first story before the time goes out. T-Mobile has their television service out right now, I believe. You can access it. This comes from The Verge with their friggin' banner ad. Written by Chaim Gartenberg. T-Mobile T-Vision. I hope they're Jewish because I just said Chaim like it's like they're Hasidic. T-Mobile T-Vision hands-on, the basics, but not much else. So it's called T-Vision, which I had no idea it was. But imagine YouTube TV and Sling TV and Pluto TV and Hulu with Live TV. Imagine that, but coming from T-Mobile. It's basic. You can. The price tags are between $10 and $40, and then there's the add-ons and stuff. The add-ons are very strange because it. Excuse me, I can't type a word. Oh God, I'm really just struggling. I tried to type T-Vision into Google and I just kept typing T-Cifion and other words that don't matter. Doing a great job addressing the camera. So there's 3 tiers. Live TV, which is 30 channels, $40. Live TV Plus, 40 channels, $50. Live Zone, $60. And then you can add on different channels starting from $6, including, Epic, Stars, Showtime, the rest. Only those three. So let me see the channels that are in my zip code, because I remember that I think you can add on like Disney, but it doesn't come within the regular thing. Don't quote me on that, because I ain't said S word. Oh, limited time offer. Get 12 months of Apple TV Plus free. That was that last line I just said was a reference to Easy. Okay, I can't find the channels, but it was very strange. Like you could only get a certain amount of channels and add it. Okay, here it is. TV Vision Live. This comes from The Verge, of course. The core channels you get, your regular affiliates, with the exception of CBS, it looks like, and sports stuff, ESPN, Fox, all that stuff, and then Cartoon Network, TBS, some the Warner stuff, and then pay $10 more, you get more stuff, more sports stuff, and then the Live Plus is more channels, but most importantly, NFL Red Zone, and then there's add-on. There's $10 per month options from AMC, Discovery, Viacom, and those channels. So $10 more for that. Oh my God, Jiminy Christmas, that's so disgusting. Just charge. I don't get this a la carte thing. Like a la carte channels is there's a thing called AMC Plus. AMC has its own. It's not a streaming service. It's a streaming add-on. So if they have AMC, BBC America, IFC, Shudder, which and it's by itself is probably worth the $10 a month. But you get all that stuff plus all the AMC stuff that they air. Television is turning a la carte, and it's in a place where I don't like that. I'd rather pay for the cable stuff and then the streaming services, and then that's it. But purchasing channels per package is just asinine to me. And so basically, what Chaim was getting at, again, I really hope I'm pronouncing that right. There's T-Vision works, but it's basic and it's limited, and you can only get it on certain devices: Apple TV, Roku, Chromecast. I mean, it's strange. I'm complaining a couple of weeks ago. Apple TV Plus isn't available outside of the Apple TV ecosystem, and it's on Roku as well, and maybe on Fire TV. But it has yet to drop on Android. However, next week when the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 launch, they're both going to have Apple TV Plus. It doesn't make sense for you not to put it on Android, which is the most plethora device out there. Okay. There you go. So T-Vision works. It's just empty. It's available for all postpaid T-Mobile subscribers. Sprint users will have access later in November, with the service set up to more broadly open up to all users in 2021. Wow. So this works for if you're T-Mobile people. I wonder if it works if you have Google Fi like I do, because it uses T-Mobile's and Sprint's, but now just T-Mobile's radios. Oh, there's no Roku app for the T-Vision yet. You can get it on Apple and Android devices. However, Chromecast nor AirPlay work. It's just bland. Okay. Well, that was T-Vision. Hey, listen, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll actually have 2 serious topics to talk about, which is great. So here we go. Go on a break. Okay. And I'm back. Hey, first time ever I got the headphones in before I brought back up the thing. Is it too casual for me to put my foot up on the desk as I record these? I just think it shows I'm a cool guy. Hey, look at me. I'm a cool guy. Look, I'm not even wearing pants, man. I'm so cool. Yeah, I'm sitting here recording a podcast, put my foot up on the desk. Yeah, the world's burning down around us. We got pandemics, fires, earthquakes in Turkey, and a dictator in America. But baby, it's so casual that I can record a podcast with my feet up. My Wiki feet page must be exploding right now. I wonder when I was at NBC, the NBC affiliate here in Atlanta. We got a new anchoress, as I call her, because she's a woman. Okay, this is laughing way too hard at that. That was pretty funny though. Okay, all right, okay. I don't mean it. I don't mean anchoress for real. It was just a joke. It's very funny though. If you add "riss" to the end of anything, like a doctor, I have a doctress. My therapist is the therapist riss. I think it's very funny. But she when she joined she joined the station, and she's very nice, very good at her job, and I remember I had to, I don't know, I guess I made a welcome video for her, and that I think is the only thing that I've ever made on that website that had to be taken down because she was working nights, and then they moved her in the morning. Anyway, so I made this video for her, this like profile video for the website to show off, and I had to like find her reel and her resume and all this stuff. She could have given this all to me, but I chose not to ask. But I had to find her reel and resume and all that stuff, and I was Googling her name, and the first thing on Google that popped up, I typed in her first name, last name, and then the next thing, feet, and I just went. She came from New York, so obviously it's a very populous area, but people were they thought she was so attractive that they had to look up a local news anchor's if she had a wiki feet page or just a feet picture on the internet. I thought it was gross. I mean, everybody has their fetish, but local news, like if you look up, Jennifer Aniston feet, fine, but if you're looking up a local news anchor feet, come on, guys. Okay, let's move on. Okay, let's do this first. Cable news election coverage, and I know I said I wasn't going to do anything election based, but I gotta look at this. This is from the New York Times. How the major cable networks covered election night. This is written by Tiffany Sue, and I think it is a great piece about what election coverage is. So if you watch any type of cable news, I just got tired of this immediately. If you watch any type of cable news, especially during election, it's tough because all they do is, especially because I've seen CNN on right now, they do it's 18 hours of straight up repeating the same thing over and over again. It could be I mean, literally on Anderson Cooper's 2 hours today. He asked a woman who was the reportress. The reporter who was stationed in Pennsylvania, I think Pittsburgh or Philly or whatever. She was in Pennsylvania, and he asked her, "Hey, what's going on over there? How are they counting the ballots? And then, or why'd they stop for the day or something like that?" And she goes, "Well, they just got all these things, and they can only open them on Friday at 5 p.m. Legally, and blah blah blah." And she repeated. She said. 3 key facts. And then Anderson Cooper goes, "Okay, so let me try to understand." And then he repeats the 3 facts, and then she repeated the 3 facts, and that was 10 minutes. That didn't need to happen. And it's not relegated to just CNN. It's MSNBC and Fox and now CNBC, because they were talking about stocks and stuff. And these are 24 hours, with the exception of CNBC. They're 24 hours, and there's just no stopping it until we find out who the president is. This is how it's just going to happen. I stayed up and watched the election night coverage. Then I went to the gym. So I stayed up, went to sleep for 3 hours, woke up, went to the gym. It's great. It wasn't great. I fell asleep at work. I fell asleep I fell asleep before watching the video. How my now deceased grandfather, but he used to fall asleep in his chair at his house with his head tilted back and his mouth open, just like. I fell asleep just like that at work for exactly 28 minutes, and then I woke up, and it was great. So, Miss Sue is looking at this the exact same way that I looked at this, and she covers it. She broke it down, starting in the early hours on Tuesday, and then she starts going from 9 o'clock until the rest, and so hour by hour, because that's when the precincts they start closing around the country. They close at 7, then 7:30, 8, 8:30, 9, 9:30, 10, and then they had to report and all that stuff, and it was because right now. I don't know if you guys can hear the television. I just left it on. I left the sound on. But right now I can hear the guy who has been working the big board for CNN talking about the same stuff for the past 3 days since Tuesday at around this time. It's 8:37 p.m. Since Tuesday. It is now Thursday. He's been talking about this stuff nonstop. And it's not just him. It's every single person on all of these networks. I don't know if you know this, but there's 40 articles out there that said Gail slept in her Spanx in her dress. And she did. The next morning on CBS This Morning, she was still there at the same desk. I love Gail. I respect CBS News, probably my favorite network news. But God, that did not need to be a story on Variety, Deadline, THR, Mashable, Uprocks. It didn't need to be on any of that stuff. IGN even reported on it. So she covered. I'm sorry, I just looked at the recorder and it looked like I was peeking. But she covered it. She covers this. Miss Sue on New York Times covers just how everybody was covering the election. And I mean, if you after working in the news, I know this. Like, this stuff is, of course, hard, especially for local news. But for national cable news, you just have to make conversation for 15 hours straight. When I worked at the NBC affiliate here in Atlanta again, the 2018 midterms, me, a photographer, and a reporter were sent to a local, I guess precinct to count, to watch people count ballots. And we were there for several hours. And this was just the midterms. It wasn't even like a major election. And so we were watching the people. And it's like, even though it's, 50 people, which I don't know if this is that number, but even though it's like a couple dozen people, they're like, it's like to be cliche, a well-oiled machine. They're over there, they're running around, counting ballots. We could only stay in a certain area. Like if we went, it was like in a kind of like a warehouse style thing. And just watching them pull off these cases and stuff and count. And then every so often they would come over and talk to the media. I mean, it's interesting to see. It should have been one night, but now it's 3 and 4 or 5. It's just going to be like this until March. But this is a great article, a piece to read and get an understanding of what the people in the media have had to deal with and do. And yeah, while I'm not a fan of what Fox, CNN, and MSNBC are doing, talking about nothing for all these hours, and here's what needs to happen for Trump to win, here's what needs to happen for Biden to win, Biden, these people, they gotta stop the count and win the count. It's like, while I'm not a fan of that, it's just it's also interesting to me, and even though I hate the news, I'm still a part of it. It's still in my blood. Moving on, this comes from this is the last story of the night, of the day, the show, whatever, who cares. What if I died? This is the last episode. Ben K over at Consequence of Sound. Spotify offering to boost artists' algorithm placement in exchange for reduced royalties. So this is this is so stupid. I got so mad when I saw this. Spotify already pays artists nothing, but it is widely known that artists do also make a crap ton of money. They make up that back end via, selling tickets and selling merch. And merch is really how they, touring and merch. That's how they make all their money now. But if you are a musician and you are not that widely known, or you don't have as big as a following as Ariana Grande or Beyonce or Nicki Minaj, I'll name someone who's not that. I'll name someone who's not white. Who's not a woman of color. Bruce Springsteen. if you're not, that album, Letter to You, wonderful. I love it. Truly, it's my favorite album of the year. And then Women in Music Part 3 with Haim. Speaking of Haim, it's truly two of my favorite albums of the year. And I'm just waiting on Young Dolph's album. Oh God, that's so good. All right, I'm done. Anyway, so if you want to lose some of those royalties, then they'll put you in the discovery mode, which is something that I don't think. I mean, it's a trade-off for sure, but it's the positive one you're looking for. So Ben writes, essentially, when an artist has a song they want to highlight for whatever reason, they can opt in to discovery mode. However, Spotify makes no promises that turning it on would actually increase a song's appearance in the, quote, personalized listening sessions. Only that if it does, they'll pay out a reduced rate for those streams. Because there's no upfront cost, Spotify is framing this as a chance for artists to actually earn more on a track that may not have received as much exposure without the boost. So it's Spotify has to do a little dance around, saying, "Hey, we'll give you less money for in order for more discovery." It's because that's illegal. You can't say like, "Hey," they can't say, "Hey, you pay us money and we'll make you look good on our platform." But this is the loophole that will look good for somebody who has 15,000 listeners and probably wants more. But this is I kind of don't like. I don't like this. The more I think about it, the more I just think it's a very bad thing to do for music, because now you're just kind of you're quantifying it instead of qualifying it. Because like on SoundCloud, a SoundCloud rapper can be discovered, or even on TikTok. An artist can be discovered by having the right people listen and play that song. But then you come here and Spotify is saying, Spotify's the major, listening thing. And it's saying, hey, you can pay us and we will make you big. But it's not saying that. So keep that in mind. So speaking of Spotify, there's tension over Joe Rogan's podcast. This comes from the Wall Street Journal, and baby, you better believe I subscribe to the Wall Street Journal again. I got a good deal. So we got 2 months of Wall Street Journal, baby. Joe Rogan's podcast sparks tension inside Spotify, written by Ann Steele. So Joe Rogan had Alex Jones, the host for InfoWars, and Abigail Schreier, an author critical of transgender issues, on as his first guest, as now he's Spotify's big podcast. Spotify employees are discouraged to openly debate topics as diverse as app updates and the snacks available in the office, people familiar with the matter says. As the company works remotely amid the coronavirus pandemic, many of these debates take place in Slack channels dubbed clubs. They started a club called the Ethics Club, and they have been saying, excuse me, I'm really getting worked up. The workers have been talking about how this, more than an ethics violation, this is now me talking, but more than an ethics violation, but just something they're uncomfortable with. Because Joe Rogan, while he may be a good interviewer and he may get these giant guests, I'm not including, those two. I was going to say some curse words. Those two people as giant guests, but he has a huge platform, and he's giving them a platform to spread their messages of hate and intolerance, and that's not good at all. Chief Executive Daniel Ek reiterated Thursday his desire to make Spotify the, quote, largest audio platform in the world. And that ambition involves embracing diverse voices and differing opinions as the company chases scale in podcasting. He said, the most important thing for us is to have very clear policies in place. It doesn't matter if you're Joe Rogan or anyone else. We do apply the policies, and they need to be evenly applied. So it's just a way of saying, hey, sometimes things are going to be said, and we'll make sure it's not said by everybody. So they paid this guy a lot of money, and they knew going in, they had to have known going in that Alex Jones had been on before, and he said wildly radical and incoherent and straight up wrong things before. And it doesn't make sense. It goes back to, I mentioned this last week with the Shepard Smith on CNBC. It goes back to NBC hiring Megyn Kelly and then, being surprised, the Pikachu surprise face. That's the only meme I know is that Pikachu thing. But being surprised that she says she doesn't see anything wrong with blackface. And yes, I know I said last week she's a good reportress. But obviously she says horribly racist things sometimes, not all the time. Employees flagged this week's Joe Rogan Experience featuring Mr. Jones, the company moderators highlighting his comments, stating that masks don't stop the transmission of the new virus, the coronavirus, and that the polio vaccine caused people to become sick. Spotify determined the podcast fit within its guidelines. I mean, it's Spotify just trying to protect their investment, and it's sad that it has come to this. But they pay $500 million to this guy. Tax probably like 402. They pay $500 million to this guy, and though his show may be divisive, I don't listen to it. Because I'm not that type of person that listens to Joe Rogan. And there's a type of person. Look, if you listen to Joe Rogan, all the power, more power to you. But I can guess what you look like. And you might have a tap out tattoo. That's a very specific thing. Hey, listen, I gotta go. But if you like what you heard here, head to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where there's interviews with your favorite comedians. In a couple of weeks, it'll be the Jerky Boys. I've talked to Johnny Brennan. So if you don't know who the Jerky Boys are, ask your dad. Tomorrow, quite literally tomorrow, the day this podcast goes up, I'll be talking to the cast of Spanish Aki Presents, a lovely Latinx podcast from Earwolf. So that's going to be great. I really hope it's a long talk because I like those people. And that'll be up, I don't know, next week or something. Who cares? And what else is going on? Hey, if you want to see a video of this show, youtube.com/C+comedy. You can see me sitting here in my chair in my shirt that I wore to work, but these shorts that I did not. I don't know why I didn't put on pants. I put on the shirt because I needed a shirt, but I didn't put on pants. After work, when I came to shoot this show, it's been several hours. I took the shirt off and I took the pants off and I just sat around. And went to therapy. Anyway, the whole thing. Also on youtube.com/comedy is our premium news show, News Time. We comes out once a week. This week's episode, as I said before, is about the election and how celebrities can influence your vote. And that's it. Twitter, Facebook, @C+comedy. Instagram, @C+comedy. Share this podcast. Tell your friends. Tell your friends. And also tell your friends and rate and review this wherever you get it. On Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Okay, I gotta go. Goodbye, baby.